All right, Congressman Carlos Gimenez joins us now. He fully supports or supported Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. Sir, it's good to have you on tonight. I want to start with this. Do you believe that the criticisms of Kevin McCarthy that have come from Bob Good, from Nancy Mace, from Matt Gaetz, do you believe those criticisms are totally invalid?
Yes, I do. Absolutely, 100% totally invalid.
Totally invalid. I mean,
you want me to explain it?
Yeah, but I would love for you to. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we what they wanted was regular order, and then regular order means that there's going to be amendments, and everybody has a right to an opinion, and then there's a vote. Regular order doesn't mean that there is a pre-prescribed outcome, and sometimes during these processes, certain members of the Freedom Caucus, especially Mr. Good, Mr. Gaetz, may not have liked the outcome of the votes, but that's a democratic process. And so a lot of these appropriations may have actually been stalled or hindered by the very members that are actually now complaining that they didn't come to the floor. Now, mind you, 70% of discretionary spending, those appropriations, have passed already, and we were well on our way of passing the other bills to make all 12 appropriations and have them done before this CR ran out. But now that we have this chaos caused by Mr. Gaetz and his gang, then we may miss that deadline because we can't get our work done.
Gaetz says that they sent everybody on recess. He says it was a 6-week recess in the heart of the summer that led up to this moment, and now with the backs against the wall, and he says that took away from the ability to make the budget for next year for this country itemized into these 12 appropriations bills, which is how a lot of these conservatives would rather, and I'm sure you yourself would like to see it done that way, because it would make it easier to, to show Americans what they spend all this money on, how much of our money is wasted. To itemize it would let us have exposure to these things that we don't usually get. Usually you get a 3,000-page bill, and it all gets voted on, and that's how half the money that we send to Washington ends up in lobbyist hands. So that's not true, though. You're saying it's not true that,
that
this was intentional.
No, not at all, because that assumes that all 218 members of Congress are going to be in agreement with what the spending is going to be. And that's certain, we have people representing, we got people from Texas to the Great Lakes, and somebody representing the Great Lakes is going to have a different set of priorities than somebody from Texas. And so we don't have full agreement on the 218 or what the spending level should be and what it should be appropriated. That was the bone of contention in many of these appropriation bills, getting through that process. But like I said, we had already passed appropriations bill for defense and other items that took 70% of the appropriations that are of discretionary in nature. Now the other 30% we had to do in the next 2 or 3 months, and so the next 45 days. So that's what has been stalled, and it's been stalled by Mr. Gaetz. So this whole thing that somehow, this by creating chaos, he's actually going to solve a problem. It's idiotic, to be honest with you.
I want to ask you about the debt in this country. That is the crux of all of this. Is on the national debt. We're at $33 trillion. We have an administration that wants to spend about $2 trillion more every single year than we bring in as a country. Probably 40% more than we bring in as a country. Gaetz, Good, they hinge all of this on the idea that McCarthy seems to have just given a pass to that because we just did this debt ceiling increase, which they say allows as much as they want to spend until 2025. How do you counter that argument?
That's because Kevin McCarthy, through his debt deal, actually reduced the future debt of America by $2 trillion, the largest cut in American history, for God's sakes. And so they didn't get everything that they wanted, the cut that they wanted, because we don't control all of government. Yeah. Apparently, they think that if you control 1/3 of 1/2 of government, that somehow you control everything. Look, we control the House. The Senate is controlled by Democrats. The president is a Democrat. They want to spend more money. So when you go to negotiate, you're not going to get everything that you want. Look, the president said that he wasn't even going to negotiate, for God's sakes. Well, he did. We did negotiate, and we negotiated that $2 trillion down. We actually have spending cuts,
do you think that
actual spending cuts in this year's budget.
Well, that's why some of the most conservative, a lot of very conservative people are supporting McCarthy in this moment. Are Gaetz and others, in your opinion, trying to oversell what's possible right now and saying that because we're not getting the moon, that that this isn't good enough? Are they promising things that they can't deliver?
Well, listen, I'm a Reagan Republican. That's the greatest president of my lifetime. And Reagan said, if you can get 75% of what you want, he'll take it. These folks, supposedly Gates and this other gang, they're not Reagan Republicans. So in my eyes, they're not Republican at all. They want 100%, something that they can never get. And so you have to be realistic. And if you get 100% of what they want, that means all of our vulnerable representatives in those vulnerable districts are going to be Democrats next election. We're going to lose the majority, and then guess what? Matt Gaetz and his gang are going to get zero of what they want. I'll take 75, 80% over zero any day.
Congressman Gimenez, great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on and for explaining your side. I think there's compelling arguments on both sides of this. It certainly is an interesting moment.